From hush-hush crimes to shocking affairs, Hollywood's elite hide their darkest secrets. This jaw-dropping video exposes the biggest cover-ups Tinseltown desperately concealed. You won't believe the outrageous scandals they buried about your favorite stars. Number 15. Elizabeth Taylor's Love Triangle. Back in the day, Elizabeth Taylor was the drama queen of Hollywood. She couldn't stay away from scandal and gossip. Married 8 times, Liz made headlines when she started seeing her friend Debbie Reynolds' husband, Eddie Fisher, after Liz's third husband died in a plane crash in the late 1950s. Debbie and Eddie had 2 kids together, one being Star Wars Carrie Fisher, but soon divorced after Liz stole Eddie's heart. Liz and Eddie themselves married and lasted 5 years before, you guessed it, Liz moved on again, this time with Richard Burton. Liz and Richard married and divorced not once, but twice. Talk about a roller coaster romance. While both Liz and Eddie got trashed in the media over this love triangle at first, Debbie's career took the biggest hit long term. Ultimately, Liz and Debbie rekindled their friendship years later by a chance meeting while cruising. For Liz, it seems no man nor scandal could stand in the way of her rising to icon status. Number 14. Charlie Chaplin's Lolita Complex. Long before Leonardo DiCaprio only dated models half his age, silent film star Charlie Chaplin loved much younger women. He married 4 times, all to very young brides. When 29-year-old Chaplin wed 16-year-old Mildred Harris in 1918, they divorced 2 years later. In 1924, he married another 16-year-old, Lita Gray. That lasted 3 years before divorcing. Basically, these marriages ended once the teens reached adulthood. Pretty gross. After a decade, Chaplin married actress Paulette Goddard in her 20s when he was in his 40s. That ended too. His 4th marriage stuck. In 1943, the 53-year-old married 18-year-old Una O'Neill. Quite an age gap, as he was old enough to be her grandfather. They remained married until Chaplin's death in 1977. If that wasn't scandalous enough, Chaplin was banned from the US in 1952 for suspected communist ties. He didn't return until 1972 to accept an honorary Oscar. The tabloids must have relished his drama-filled life. Number 13. The Mysterious Death of Natalie Wood. In 1981, Natalie went on a boat ride with her husband Robert Wagner, who was twice her age, and fellow actor Christopher Walken, with whom she may have had an affair. That night, under very strange circumstances, 43-year-old Natalie tragically drowned. No one ever figured out exactly what happened, which is part of what makes her death so memorable. Originally thought to be an accident, the case reopened in 2011 when the boat captain claimed that Wagner was involved. However, no charges were ever filed and the case went cold. In 2012, Natalie's death certificate was changed to drowning with other undetermined factors as the cause. Her shocking death remains an enduring Hollywood mystery over 40 years later. Number 12. Joan Crawford did an adult film. Joan Crawford was one of MGM's biggest stars in her heyday. Ambitious and ruthless in chasing her career goals, she won an Oscar for 1945's Mildred Pierce and scored other major awards. But persistent rumors dogged her that she had started out by starring in adult films back in the day. Crawford was said to have appeared in a naughty flick called Velvet Lips. At one point, her brother tried selling copies to the highest bidder, though no copies exist now, possibly due to studio fixtures making them disappear to avoid embarrassing their stars. Crawford's first husband, Douglas Fairbanks Jr., confirmed she was blackmailed over the films, even receiving threatening calls on their honeymoon. One film was sent to MGM, but their lawyer denied it featured Crawford. Crawford denied her past until death, but her FBI file apparently confirms Velvet Lips' existence, with notes that a film of Crawford in compromising positions was circulated for smokers, men's-only parties. Biographers suggest the studio paid Crawford's brother up to $100,000 to bury the film. Crawford later secretly paid back the studio hush money. Family troubles continued after Crawford died. Her disinherited daughter published the memoir Mommy Dearest, depicting Crawford as something far from a saint. Gossip and rumors have always trailed Hollywood stars, but Crawford proved that with grit and talent, you can rise above a questionable past to achieve lasting success. Number 11. Judy Garland, who was forced to take stimulants. When Judy Garland was first noticed by a talent scout from MGM Studios in 1935, she was just a young teen with a lovely singing voice and natural acting ability. Though they didn't love her looks, they signed her right away and started giving her lots of girl-next-door roles. Judy worked incredibly long hours, up to 18 hours a day, 6 days a week. To keep her energy down and weight up, the studio gave her stimulant drugs. To bring her down at night, they supplied sleeping pills. At 19, Judy married against the studio's wishes. They demanded she return to work just 24 hours after the wedding. When she got pregnant, they arranged for an abortion. By her early 20s, when filming Meet Me in St. Louis, Judy was completely dependent on pills to get through her grueling days. The studio protected her by isolating her from others. If she couldn't work due to illness, they took the cost out of her pay. At one point, Judy checked into a hospital to try to regain health, but the studio ordered her to quickly lose weight again, so she went right back on the pills. When Judy's life spiraled downward, the studio abandoned her. She died from a drug overdose in 1969 at only 47 years old. Number 10. Errol Flynn was a pervert. You've probably heard that famous Hollywood hunk Errol Flynn really loved the ladies. The saying, "in like Flynn," got popular after he went on trial for getting too frisky with some underage girls. He got off the hook legally, but his reputation as a ladies' man just kept growing. Before hitting it big on the silver screen, Flynn worked as a tour guide on some wild jungle rivers. He apparently fought off crocs and angry tribesmen shooting arrows. A film crew noticed his bravery and good looks. They gave him a role in a remake of Mutiny on the Bounty. Rumors flew about Flynn's bedroom antics. Word is he lost his virginity at age 10. He had special mirrors installed so he could watch his own action. Flynn was known for some pretty wild nights filled with drink and drugs, but his fans still loved him up on the big screen. He died of a heart attack at 50. One naughty rumor says that the coroners took away some private souvenirs from his body after he passed. Number 9. George Raft really was a gangster. George Raft became known for playing tough guy roles like gangsters and mobsters. Maybe his real-life friendship with shady underworld figures inspired Hollywood to typecast him that way. Raft grew up poor in New York's Hell's Kitchen neighborhood, alongside his lifelong pal Benjamin Bugsy Siegel. Bugsy showed George how to impressively flip coins. The two buddies also allegedly got involved with running illegal liquor smuggling operations for New York mobsters back in the Prohibition days. Later on, Raft's buddy Bugsy used his own connections with Hollywood big shots to help George get his first movie role. Raft's coin flipping trick landed him his first part playing a mob henchman in the classic gangster film Scarface. And that set the tone for the rest of his career. Raft almost always played crooks, cons, and tough mobster types. In fact, real-life mobsters even influenced Raft's Scarface movie. Infamous Chicago mob boss Al Capone met with the director and showed him how to authentically fire a Tommy gun for the film. So both on-screen and off, George Raft and the mob scene just seemed to go hand in hand. Number 8. Loretta Young adopted her own child. Loretta Young had it all. Beauty, success, even an Oscar for her 1947 role in The Farmer's Daughter. But back in 1935, after filming Call of the Wild, Loretta disappeared from the public eye for over a year. When she returned, she brought with her an adopted daughter named Judy. But Judy was actually Loretta's biological child, the product of a brief relationship with her married co-star Clark Gable. As a devout Catholic, Loretta would never have considered an abortion, so she kept the truth hidden from everyone, even Judy herself, for 31 years. Rumors swirled around Hollywood about Judy's real father, but the story wasn't confirmed until after Loretta passed away and the truth came out in a memoir. It's still unclear if Loretta's relationship with Gable was entirely consensual. Loretta devoted herself to raising her daughter, keeping her close all those years despite the pressures of fame. As shocking as the deception was, perhaps it was also an act of love, her way of protecting Judy from the difficult truth. Number 7. Jean Harlow was forced to marry. Jean Harlow lit up the silver screen as the original blonde bombshell. She skyrocketed to fame after starring in Howard Hughes' film Hell's Angels. Harlow certainly lived a roller coaster life. She married her first husband at only 15 years old in 1927, divorcing just a few weeks later. Tragically, her second husband died in a mysterious gun accident, leading to rumors that Harlow herself pulled the trigger. Harlow then had a torrid love affair with a married boxer. To avoid a career-damaging scandal, the studio forced her into a sham marriage with cinematographer Harold Rosen. They quietly divorced months later once the gossip died down. In 1935, Harlow fell head over heels for William Powell on the set of Reckless, and dreamed of settling down, having a family, and leaving acting behind. But Powell, recently divorced from Carole Lombard, felt it was too soon to remarry. He also insisted he never wanted children. Powell's hesitation only went so far. Soon, Harlow found herself pregnant. Knowing Powell didn't want kids, and the studio wouldn't tolerate a single mother actress, Harlow secretly aborted the baby she yearned for, never revealing the truth to Powell. Number 6. William Randolph Hearst tried to shoot Charlie Chaplin and killed someone else instead. William Randolph Hearst was a big shot. He owned the biggest newspaper company in the world back in the 1920s. He had money, power, and a terrible temper. So when Hearst heard a rumor that his girlfriend, Marion Davies, was fooling around with Charlie Chaplin, he saw red. Instead of confronting Chaplin directly, Hearst invited him and some other Hollywood bigwigs onto his fancy yacht. Awkward. Especially with producer Thomas Ince on board. He was hoping to get the money from Hearst for his struggling movie studio. But Ince's luck ran out fast. He suddenly took ill on the yacht trip. Hearst's newspapers quickly reported that Ince died of digestive problems. Conveniently, his body got cremated right away, too. Fishy, right? Rumors spread like wildfire that Hearst actually shot at Chaplin in a rage over Marion, but missed and killed Ince by mistake. A yacht secretary supposedly saw Ince bleeding from a bullet to the head. Pretty suspicious that Ince's wife then hightailed it to Europe, unavailable for many questions. So what really went down on that doomed boat trip? All we know for sure is that Hearst used his media power to bury the real story, whatever it was. Money and influence can cover up a multitude of sins. Poor Thomas Ince definitely learned that lesson the hard way. Number 5. Tallulah Bankhead had multiple abortions. Tallulah Bankhead was a Hollywood icon known as much for her bold sexuality as for her beauty. She reportedly had over 185 romantic encounters in her day, and delighted in shocking polite society with her brazen promiscuity. To stay slim and keep starring film roles, Tallulah discreetly underwent 4 abortions by age 30. In those days, the major studios had secret systems to handle actresses' unwanted pregnancies without public scandal. Tallulah once married a man simply because he asked, the only proposal she ever received. But wedded bliss failed to slow her wild ways. She boldly seduced both men and women, often semi-publicly, and would casually greet guests at her home in the nude. One story claims she even flashed a Broadway theater audience in the heat of a dramatic scene, startling a priest and 3 nuns into walking out. However, later in life, with her childbearing years cut short due to illness, Tallulah came to regret the many pregnancies ended by her youthful abortions. Despite her unconventional and daring sexuality, she was still a woman who longed to experience motherhood. Number 4. Alfred Hitchcock was a stalker. The famous director Alfred Hitchcock had an undeniable talent for filmmaking, but he also had some eccentric personal quirks. Though married for over 50 years, he once claimed to have only had sex 1 time. Yet Hitchcock became utterly infatuated with many of his glamorous blonde leading ladies over the years. Both Grace Kelly and Janet Leigh complained about his controlling and possessive behavior on set. He wouldn't allow the actresses to chat with other cast members or even catch a ride to work with anyone besides himself. But it was actress Tippi Hedren who really became the primary target of Hitchcock's creepy obsession. Riding high off the success of Psycho, Hitch picked the little-known Hedren star in his new flick, The Birds. She became an instant star, yet was tied to an exclusive contract with Hitchcock that put her in a vulnerable position. While filming The Birds, Hitch ordered the other actors not to talk or touch Tippi, yet he told her the cast disliked her. He made inappropriate advances, which she rejected. Tippy claims the scenes of birds attacking her were Hitch's sick revenge. Instead of props, he used real birds fixed to her body with elastic that became highly agitated. Capturing one bedroom scene took 5 long days as Tippy was ravaged by the birds. Eventually, Tippy snapped, calling Hitch a fat pig to his face after he made another unwelcome advance. She finally rejected him for good. Furious, Hitchcock made it his mission to ruin her career. Though she won awards for her breakthrough role in The Birds, Hitch wouldn't allow her time off to collect accolades or even campaign for an Oscar nomination. While Hedren worked consistently after starring in The Birds, her career never fully recovered from Hitchcock's calculated sabotage. Number 3. Lana Turner's daughter shot her boyfriend. Back in 1958, the famous movie star Lana Turner had a scary run-in with her boyfriend, a mob guy named Johnny Stompanato. Things got ugly when Johnny showed up at Lana's house one night and started threatening her. He was yelling that he was going to kill her. Lana's 14-year-old daughter, Cheryl Crane, was in the house and heard the commotion. Wanting to defend her mom, Cheryl grabbed a knife from the kitchen. When Johnny lunged at Lana, Cheryl stabbed him. Johnny died from the wound. Cheryl was arrested, but claimed she did it to save her mom's life. The court agreed it was self-defense and found Cheryl not guilty. Number 2. Ingrid Bergman's affair. When you put a bunch of attractive co-stars together, often playing romantic roles, things can sometimes get complicated. One such headline-grabbing affair happened in 1949 between actress Ingrid Bergman and Italian director Roberto Rossellini on the set of the film Stromboli. Though they were both married at the time, they fell for each other hard. Bergman soon became pregnant with Rossellini's child, prompting them to leave their spouses and marry. Their fiery romance burned bright, but fizzled out after several years, ending in divorce by 1957. Number 1. Patricia Douglas was exploited. Patricia Douglas was a 20-year-old with big dreams of being a Hollywood star. When she got an invite to an MGM studio audition, she was thrilled at the chance. But when she showed up, she realized this was no audition, it was a party thrown by MGM head Louis B. Mayer for 300 of his sale executives. Over 100 young women like Patricia were brought in as entertainment. Dressed up in flashy outfits, they were promised a hot meal and a few bucks for their time. Patricia went along, hoping this gig might lead to her big break. But these execs had other intentions, and many of the women found themselves fending off unwanted advances. For Patricia, it was far worse. She was brutally exploited at the event. Unlike others, Patricia refused hush money and pursued charges against her attacker, an MGM salesman. MGM hired detectives to dig up dirt to ruin her name, but when they found nothing, they got folks to falsely claim she was promiscuous and had diseases. It was her word against his, and the truth didn't seem to matter. Her character was shredded and her attacker set free. But Patricia showed real courage in speaking out against a powerful studio, even when the deck was completely stacked against her. Well, there you have it, folks, the 15 juiciest scandals Hollywood wanted to bury for good. Pretty wild stuff, right? Let me know which twisted tale shocked you most in the comments below. And if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button and click the bell to stay in the loop on more salacious celebrity secrets. I've got plenty more celebrity skeletons to drag from the closet in future videos, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out. In the meantime, give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time for more Tinseltown tea spilling.